Tonight, how the U.S. military is joining the search for the serial sniper, plus what passengers will notice about the federal government's new security screeners, and find out what caused this plane to crash into a loading ramp.
You're watching WDSU TV Channel 6 New Orleans. We're building WDSU around you. This is News Channel 6 at 10.
Our top story tonight, a search for solutions demanding justice in New Orleans neighborhoods. Good evening, I'm Chris Fairbairn.
And I'm Norman Robinson. 32-year-old Christopher Breedy was murdered 2.5 weeks ago.
But his neighbors are still working hard to keep anyone else from becoming a victim. Police say 4 suspects forced Breedy's wife, Amy, to drive to an ATM and withdraw money. When they brought her back to the house, they shot and killed her husband. Now the neighborhood wants to know how the 2 candidates running for district attorney can keep something like this from happening again. WDSU News Channel 6 reporter Ed Reams was with the candidates tonight.
Well, that's right. Both candidates agree they would make major changes to the office of the district attorney if they were elected. But the people who knew and loved Christopher Breedy hope the candidates' solutions are more than just campaign promises. Friends and relatives of Christopher Breedy say they're tired of waiting for things to change. By lighting candles and wearing shirts, they hope to send a message to 2 people who may have the power to take the district attorney's office in a different direction. Jewel Bayham says this march is also a way to remember a person who brought so much to their neighborhood.
I didn't know him for very long, but the short time that I did know him, I mean, he's a magnificent person, and it's terrible to think that this could have been avoided.
Chris and his wife Amy were approached at their Faubourg St. John home by 4 suspects as the couple was leaving for work September 27th. Police say they forced Amy to drive to an ATM and withdraw money. When they returned, they shot and killed Chris. But 2 of the suspects, Brian Nelson and Daryl Franklin, had been released from jail, despite being arrested on rape charges. District Attorney Harry Connick says they were released because no victim would come forward to testify. But this community is tired of excuses. They want action. Chris's brother Otto read a letter from Chris's wife Amy asking everyone to stay strong.
We all find peace and comfort in our lives, knowing Chris is in heaven, showering us all with his strength and love.
Both Eddie Jordan and Dale Atkins vow never to let what happened to Christopher happen to anyone else. Dale Atkins wants to react to crimes more quickly.
I said early on that I would accept police reports immediately. The district attorney's office now has an inflexible rule that says they want to accept what they determine incomplete police reports.
And Jordan says some crimes need more attention.
We also need to look at prioritizing our crimes so that the focus is on the most significant crimes, the crimes that have the biggest impact on the community.
Now, most of the Breedy family left before the candidates started talking because they said it would be too hard again to hear how the office had failed them. But the family members that I talked to say they are keeping a close eye on these suspects as they go through the court system, hoping the same mistakes aren't made again. Chris.
All right, thank you, Ed Reams, reporting. Many residents in the St. Bernard housing development say it is unsafe tonight to walk their streets or sit on their front porches after 2 shootings in one day in their area. The first shooting happened yesterday morning. A stray bullet came through a window at St. Raymond Catholic School. No one was hurt inside, but an unidentified man was found critically shot outside. Police are now looking for 27-year-old Corey Starks. They believe he is the trigger man. Later that same night, another shooting. This time, a man was killed in the 3900 block of Duplessis, and in this case, police have no suspects. But many residents are blaming a mixing of the wards.
Now they, put everybody different walls together and everything, so, it's seems like just like everybody, can't get along.
If you have children, they got people at school over there trying to teach the children, and something like this going on. It's not safe.
An NOPD spokesman says although the city's overall crime rate is down, the murder rate is up. St. Bernard Housing is following suit. However, officers have been added and some are working overtime in that community.
Back to the DA's race, Mayor Ray Nagin says he'll remain neutral in the upcoming district attorney's contest. The mayor says it was not because the man he endorsed didn't make the runoff.
I think, I'm not soured. I'm just looking at the 2 candidates that are left, and I'm saying, they're both very qualified, and I can work with either one. So why take the risk of stepping over, and then I can't create an environment where my police chief has a good working relationship with the DA's office?
Meanwhile, James Gray, the man the mayor endorsed in the primary, has now endorsed former U.S. Attorney Eddie Jordan. Voters go to the polls November 5th.
Sniper investigators say they now have their most detailed witness accounts.
This after a Virginia woman shopping at a Home Depot became the 9th person killed. She worked for the FBI in its cyber crimes unit. Police say witnesses reported seeing a man described as dark-skinned, possibly Hispanic or Middle Eastern, in a white van at the scene. Witnesses also provided information about license plates on vehicles seen leaving the scene. And tonight, the Army is searching its records for people trained as snipers. Steve Handelsman now with the latest from Falls Church, Virginia.
At the Home Depot in Seven Corners, Virginia, flags and flowers where the sniper took a life, and hope.
It's frightening. It's devastating. I don't know, you know. They've got to be close to getting this guy. Got to be.
But as police search for evidence, witnesses cannot agree on what they saw. Was the shooter inside or outside his vehicle as he took aim? Did he use an AK-74? Conflicting accounts.
Please take a look at these.
All police are making public is a lookout for two vans, a Chevy Astro and a larger Ford Econoline. 47-year-old Linda Franklin is the sniper's latest victim, a civilian FBI employee. More motive for police to make an arrest, but their dragnet failed to trap the sniper again. In an unprecedented move, Defense Secretary Rumsfeld is offering help, a military surveillance aircraft that can track vehicles at night. A memorial service in Philadelphia today for Ken Bridges, killed Friday. D.C. area residents are scared.
It's definitely nerve-wracking. It's like getting gas has turned into an extreme sport.
Police are hungry for an arrest.
My tactical teams want to know which house do you want us to do the door, but we can't tell them at this point which door to do.
13 days, 9 dead, few solid leads. And police here are reduced to asking local residents to try to stay calm and spot the sniper if they happen to be nearby and he strikes again. I'm Steve Handelsman, NBC News at the Sniper Task Force in Rockville, Maryland.
Tonight, the reward leading to an arrest and conviction of the serial sniper stands at $500,000. Any more money collected will go to the families of the victims.
The sniper shootings are pushing the federal government to move quickly on strengthening the instant background check on gun buyers. By a voice vote, lawmakers approved a bill requiring states to computerize their criminal records and have the federal government help pay for it. The bill authorizes Congress to spend more than $1.1 billion for states and courts to update their records and submit them to an FBI database. The bill is hung up in the Senate, however. The sniper attacks have also renewed interest in the idea of a national system of fingerprinting guns. Gun makers would record the markings that each gun leaves on a shell casing, so the gun could be traced from the crime scene slugs. The White House says President Bush isn't sure the technology is accurate enough, but the Senate's top Democrat Tom Daschle says the idea is worth a look.
Meanwhile, back here in the city, the federal government is now in charge of security screening at Louis Armstrong International Airport. So far, no major delays reported. The Transportation Security Administration has 301 employees, but plans to add more than 100 positions by the end of the year. The federal security director says the biggest change passengers will notice is how thorough the screening process is.
Essentially, the screening function remains the same. We believe that our training is different and improved and quite intensified. We've got a group of people who really strongly desire to be in this role.
Officials plan to have bomb detection devices at all 4 security checkpoints at Armstrong by December 31st. And transportation officials nationwide say airline passengers are getting the message on leaving weapons at home. They say the number of weapons screeners are finding is down.
Suspended Insurance Commissioner Jim Brown is serving his first night in prison tonight. Brown drove through the gates of Oakdale Federal Penitentiary near Alexandria just before noon today to begin his 6-month sentence. Brown was convicted 2 years ago for lying to an FBI agent in an investigation into a failed insurance company. He is now the 3rd Louisiana Insurance Commissioner to serve prison time, but Brown says he'll get through it and he'll be just fine. And Edwin Edwards is set to report to a federal prison in Fort Worth, Texas, October 21st. He was convicted more than 2 years ago on racketeering, extortion, and fraud charges. He was sentenced to 10 years. We'll have a one-on-one interview with Edwin Edwards tomorrow night.
Nearly all of the people evacuated in Amite after a train derailment Saturday are finally home tonight. 19 cars derailed Saturday afternoon near the downtown area. 3 of them leaked hydrochloric acid and styrene. All Amite area schools reopened today. Only about 40 homes and 6 businesses are still evacuated. The cleanup is ongoing. There's no word yet on when it will be finished. Evacuees are spending the night in area hotels on Canadian National Railroad's tab. Also making headlines tonight, a bizarre accident today in Memphis.
Coming up, we'll tell you what caused this plane to crash into a loading dock.
Plus why Winona Ryder's shoplifting trial has been delayed again.
And add another job for duct tape, how researchers say it can remove warts.
As another one of those blue cold fronts on the weather map headed our way, I'll tell you what you'll find when you awaken behind it tomorrow morning.
You're watching News Channel 6. We're building WDSU around you.
A security guard and another man are being interrogated about the bombing in Bali.
That begins our look at the world tonight. Tonight, authorities say neither has been arrested, but traces of C4 plastic explosives have been found at the scene of Saturday's attack, raising speculation that the explosives were bought or stolen from the Indonesian military. The car bombing in a nightclub area frequented by tourists killed nearly 200 people and wounded hundreds more. Investigators are calling it the work of terrorists.
A bizarre accident at Memphis International Airport. Airport officials say mechanics were working on a Mesaba Airlines engine when the plane jumped forward into a loading bridge. The crash did cause fire, and emergency personnel had to clean up about 50 gallons.